Welcome to the Meadowlan's Chamber of Commerce Emerging Leaders podcast, aimed at helping you excel and take your professional career to the next level. Sponsored by Henry Kaminsky Jr. and www.uniquedesigns.net. Now, let's get into today's show.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Emerging Leaders podcast. I got my main man with me, Fernando Valencia, in the house. What's going on, Fernando?
Woo-hoo. Happy to be here once again, my man.
Likewise. So we have a great guest today, and he is a chamber member, and he's been around for quite some time, and we found him through Jim Kirkos, the CEO, and Jim was like, I got another great personality for the podcast. So without further ado, I want to introduce Peter Moeller from Squarency and Hollenbach. What's going on, Pete?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me on.
Awesome. So we're going to dive in deep into, you've come a long way in your professional career, and a lot of folks may be starting out. They may be trying to take their service-based business or their career to the next level. So we want to dive deep in the next 30 minutes or so to really explore how you've gotten to where you've been. You established yourself over the past few years and your career and your journey. So let's start from scratch. Like, how did it all get started?
Oh, wow. How did it all get started? So if you want to go way back, it started in college, right? You are kind of just lost in trying to figure out who you are. And so in college, I started working in the restaurant industry, and I got exposed to hospitality and management. And it allowed me to understand, I guess, that I'm pretty good at public speaking and that I'm good in front of people. And so that kind of dictated some of the classes I started doing in school, which was public speaking and whatnot. And I met one amazing teacher who was just absolutely like, you know what? You are such a good business mind. You absolutely need to go to Pace University and check out their business program. And that's what I did. I went from Bergen Community College, trying to figure out where I was in place. And I took his advice and I went to Pace University. When I was in Pace University, I got involved with a very new organization called the Pace Association for Collegiate Entrepreneurs. While part of that group, I was exposed to different entrepreneurs that were starting their businesses, or at least had businesses that were pretty established already, and they were talking to us. I quickly became the president of that group. And from there, I was like, these gentlemen that have and women that have had their businesses for 25 years don't necessarily connect with the students. So how do I get somebody that can connect with the students? And I went and I found a friend of mine who opened up a very small computer shop. Instead of like necessarily going to college, he opened up a computer shop. And I said, look, if you can come up and kind of talk to the students about what it is that you do and the challenges that you face, maybe we can help you with certain things, whether it's marketing or, establishing certain lines of sales and whatnot. So he did that. And through that, I had a really good relationship with him. And that's kind of how my first job started. Seeing the way businesses operated on a very small scale, getting involved in that startup sort of mentality while I was in college, it made me switch my major from finance into a newly formed major at Pace, which was entrepreneurship. And so I started studying that kind of stuff, working with professors that had opened up their own businesses and whatnot. So I wound up working for the computer company after college for a couple years. So I understood the product side of marketing, got involved in that. And it was a pretty great experience. The CEO of that company still owns it. He's doing very well. He sits on the board of directors for Intel. So, this is a gentleman that I was able to kind of learn from, but he was the same age as me. And so it gave me that spark to understand that you got to drive hard, work hard, kind of never give up, and have a can-do attitude. And so fast forward, I thought I could be my own entrepreneur. I started a small company with a friend of mine who had a Fulbright scholarship and was living in China. And at the time, he was living in a part of China that had 250,000 painters. Mom, dad, grandma, everybody was a painter. And so he was like, how do we take these paintings and sell them and make a business off of it? So we created a small little company and we started pushing it forward, and we were doing pretty good, having accounts. We had 25 accounts selling our paintings, and then the market crashed. And who wants to buy a luxury item, right at the top when the market's crashing and nobody really knows what's going on? Lehman Brothers is going under, and there's a lot of turmoil. And so here I am left in the United States trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces of a business that I'm putting my money into, but not necessarily getting anything out in return. And so I take the mentality, if I'm breathing, I'm working, right? I've had a job since I was 12 years old. My first job, I took a what is it called? A spatula and some Freon, and I would scrape off the gum off the bottom of high school desks. I was 12 years old in the 7th grade when I started that, going into the 8th grade. And I've never stopped working. And the idea behind, never stop working is that you have to push yourself in order to get the things that you want. Nothing is going to come to those who wait, right? And so I never had anybody give me anything, so you have to go out there and grab it. And so here I am at a crossroad, having to move back home, lost my car, lost my girlfriend, right? I'm at the pit's end, not knowing what to do. And everybody's like, well, go on unemployment, try to find this, do this. And I said, no, I don't want to be on unemployment. I want to make sure that I'm working. So I took a job back in restaurants because that's what I knew what I could do. And I kept looking for a job until I found a job paying $8 an hour in a mailroom. And so I took the job in the mailroom because it put me in a corporate setting, an office setting. And so from there, within a couple months, I saw, I'm doing the mail and whatnot. And I realized, hey, I could save some money if I do the mail this way and install this program. So I put a little business plan together. I brought it to who I thought was my boss. And from there, I got called into the CEO's office. And I'll never forget this for as long as I live. The CEO leans over to me and he goes, why is there a kid in my mailroom trying to save this company money? And he said it in an intimidating way. My response was, I'm sorry, And he goes, no. He's like, there's no reason for you to be in the mailroom. He's like, I want you to start working behind me today. And that kind of catapulted things. And here I am 10 years later, still working for the firm, have developed and created their entire marketing department. I was by myself in the beginning in the marketing, and now I have 6-7 employees. We have programmers, we have writers, we have designers, everything that you can think of for a marketing. We even do all of our own printing and cutting. It's all here. And so it's given me a platform to grow. And what I've learned most about myself is that everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants their own business, but sometimes it's okay to be an intrapreneur. An entrepreneur that works within an organization that has the structure that is allowing to give you the room to grow your ideas and kind of be flexible and do your thing. And I go back to the can-do attitude. One of my bosses, Donald Sprincy, said to me very early on, he goes, Pete, you're a can-do kid. And that's why I like you in the position. And what he was basically saying there is that you don't know what you can't do. Now, I've grown a beard. I've got some gray in my beard, and I've lost the kid part, but I haven't lost the attitude of being the can-do. And so everything that you do, you just keep pushing forward. Like, how many times I have no idea what I'm doing, but I tell everybody, yeah, we can do it. Absolutely. And then you figure it out. So that's kind of the story in a quick, couple minutes of how I got to where I am now.
Peter, we just became friends. Literally just like that. The similarities, Fernando here, by the way, all the similarities in our stories are just mind-boggling. I have literally, I took down so many notes, and I'm going to try to encapsulate everything and, move us along. That alone, that's the podcast. I'm done here. I think that's the value right there for entrepreneurs, for business people, everything. It was just all there. Some of the things that really stuck out to me was you mentioned public speaking. You mentioned pace in your collegiate group. You mentioned you becoming president. You mentioned, mentors. And all of those together are really, the love that I have for Jim and the chamber, because they're giving me all of that, and me and you share, and Henry as well, that go get it attitude. Like Henry and me, we show up, we go, and we're like, Jim, what are we doing? Jim, what are we doing? Jim, what are we doing? Like, I want to do something. I don't want to just be part of the group. I want to run the group. I want to move up. I want to figure it out. I don't want to just be there listening. I want to genuinely contribute. And that attitude, and then you mentioned the Freon and the gum. That's new level. That's new level. I've heard some amazing stories, and I'm going to tie it in and then end with a question. We had another gentleman here. I can't remember his name. He mentioned he walked in with patent leather shoes to his first meeting.
Frank.
Frank, yeah. And thank you, Henry. And what it seems to me, what I'm seeing is a correlation, and there's always that one aha moment where entrepreneur, or that energy just says, I'm just going to show up being me. And you were in that mailroom and you just showed up being you. No one had to tell you. You didn't need direction. You didn't need help. You just did it. And I tell my team that all the time. That right there, I wouldn't even call you an entrepreneur or entrepreneur. You are a go-getter. Because that right there, I wish I can curse on this podcast, but I'm not. You have that. I've always said there's two things, I can teach someone anything. There's two things you can't teach people: to get up and to give up. Yeah. Those are the two things that you just can't do. And you give a F. You genuinely were like, well, I'm in a mailroom. I want to save these people money. I don't know why. I'm just going to do it. So how I want to tie it all up is that literally one of human beings' greatest fears, even more than death sometimes, is public speaking. And for you to take that on at such an early age, with myself as well, I was super shy until about 16, 17, and I just took it head on. How has that allowed you to join groups, not only join groups like PACE and the Chamber, but scale up to president and go from mailroom to where you are today? How would you say public speaking, that confidence and your ability to just generate energy in a group, how has that expedited your growth and your career?
Yeah, so, it's kind of interesting because even with public speaking, I still get extremely nervous before I have to go on because all the thoughts are going in your head, but once I get up there, I become calm. One thing I'm not good at is creating notes, or having a whole sort of written out speech and then going up. I'm good on my toes and speaking as what I know. And so how that all started was, I went into college and I would turn beet red. I was super nervous. I couldn't do those kind of things. And I wrote an article about the city of Newark, right? And it was for a history class and this and that. And I spent a lot of time on it. And my history teacher comes to me and says, Pete, this was a fantastic write-up. What we want you to do is sit in front of a panel of judges and kind of explain to them why you wrote about this and where you're going, because they're going to be picking an article to be published in this magazine and whatnot. So I'm like, oh, cool opportunity. Well, the teacher's like, yeah, just go in there. Don't even worry about it. So I didn't. And I show up to the room and it was an auditorium. And I was in front of 2,000 of my peers in the entire Bergen Community College, just like, what's going on? And there's a stage with 5 seats, and there's one right for me. And I'm going, what? No. Yes. So I run up to him, and I'm like, what are you doing? I thought I was talking with him. He's like, don't worry about the people. Just go up there and be yourself. And so thankfully, I was the last person to go. So I got to hear everybody else's. But what it did was it allowed me, because I'm a big proponent of listening to respond, not listening to react, right? So I was listening to all of these other people's sort of discussions, and I wound up blacking out. I don't remember what I set up on that stage, but I do remember that I was able to make the audience laugh several times. And I pulled in examples from other people's speeches to incorporate into mine. I don't know if it's a natural gift. I don't know if it's something that just came up, but it just happened. And from there, I realized that I could be on a platform that at least allows people to connect with me and what I'm saying. And from there, that's when I started taking the speech classes, and that's where I started, trying to just challenge myself. And that's really what it is, right? Because action creates opportunity. I said it before. Nothing will come to you if you sit there and wait. So if you just do something, right? You just get up, you try something, you challenge yourself, you face that fear, regardless of how the fear comes at you, because fear masks itself in many different ways. It could be trepidation, it could be shyness, it could be anything. but that's actual fear holding you back. And really the only thing that's holding you back from accomplishing any of those goals is this thing right here.
Yeah.
Right? That's your worst enemy all the time. No matter what's around you, that's what's going to hold you back. And so if you can challenge yourself, face those fears, put yourself in front of those kind of, opportunities or situations, you're always going to come out pretty good at the end. Nobody's ever perfect. We're going to blunder. We're going to make mistakes, but challenge yourself. And so that's what I always did. And then eventually working in the hospitality and management, being a waiter, going out there and having to introduce yourself to table after table, you just wind up becoming a little bit better at introducing yourself and having that first impression and talking to people. And then what I used to do when I was a waiter and I was in school, I used to challenge myself by trying to remember everybody's order without actually writing it down. So the bigger the table it got, right? So in that way, I was building my memory. I was building face recognition. And then when people would be like, there's 12 people at this table. We ordered appetizers. We have all kinds of different things on our orders. We have our desserts. Like, you have our drinks. How do you remember it all? Well, and I would tell them, I'm challenging myself. I'm trying to put it forward. And if I make a mistake, it's on me, And so those were the kind of things that got me started. And it's propelled me where I can get in front of, so like, for example, my position now, I've often brought ideas that don't necessarily resonate with all of the different people that I work with. And so sometimes I have to sell that, right? And I have to make sure that they have the confidence in me that what we are selling them is going to be successful, or at least be a positive direction, right? And so being in front of professionals that I think are now my mentors, right, but are some of the smartest, most brilliant people I've ever been around, and trying to talk to them in a way that they can understand it and allow them to kind of believe in me has also been a catapult. And it's been pretty good.
That's awesome. I got to jump in here. There's so many things here. One thing I want to I admire about you, Pete, and we don't know each other that well. I'll be honest with you. You are a phenomenal storyteller. And for the folks that are listening, no, I'm dead serious. For those folks that are listening, I want you to pay attention. We underestimate the power of storytelling. And if you ever want to market yourself, if you ever want to position yourself as a subject matter expert, if you ever want to take yourself to the next level, you have to create those stories. You have to bring those stories to fruition. It was funny. The reason why I was a tad bit late here on this call was this podcast was because I was on a sales call prior. And the first thing that they wanted to hear, or I actually say after I demonstrated how it is that we help our clients, they asked me, well, what kind of results are you getting? And so I had to tell the story of 3 or 4 case studies of clients that we've helped and got results for. And you should have saw the looks on their faces because we were on a Zoom call. And they were like, oh my God. But that was a learned practice for me. We didn't come easy, storytelling. And so for those folks, I really want you to I'm putting emphasis on this because that's how we as human beings digest information the best, and it's through storytelling. So that's number one. Second thing, we had a pretty interesting conversation offline prior to pushing record on this podcast. And you talked about one of the biggest struggles you had was figuring out like, who was the Peter Moeller personal brand? How was he supposed to show up? What was he supposed to be? What was his why behind everything? And you said that was a bit challenging. So I kind of want to take the next, 5-6 minutes and talk about, how did you get the clarity? How did you get the focus to become the marketing executive in this law firm that you're at right now? And how important is building a strong personal brand of self to help you build your entrepreneurial career, build your professional career, and sort of take life and business to the next level?
Yeah, it's interesting because we could always say that we never really know what we want to do, because as you're doing something, it always evolves, and then you create something else and you're like, ooh, what I was doing before wasn't what I wanted to do. I want to do this now, right? It's like when you're owning your own business and you're pushing different points, right? It's like, hey, I really like doing this, but I can't stand doing this anymore, right? And so building a personal brand for me, or just in general, I had blinders on when I was younger. Again, it comes back to that can-do attitude where I didn't necessarily know who I wanted to be or what I wanted to do, but I had to make sure that, number one, I was paying my school loans off. Otherwise, IRS is knocking at the door. So that was always a real big sort of challenge in my life, was to make sure that I paid my school loans. I bring that up because it's been such a big part of my life, because I went to a very expensive school, and I didn't have any help doing it. And I put all of those loans on, and all of a sudden, 6 months after I got out of school, that first check came, and it was more than I made in a month, or that first bill, and it was more than I made in a month. And I went, well, what do I do now? And so, instead of just kind of letting other things bring me down, or allow it to kind of affect your personality, I challenged myself to kind of get out there and just move forward. So I put the blinders on, and I just made things happen, right? I never really thought I would become the marketing director here. It was just a place to set my foot while the market was still trying to correct itself, while I figured out if I can find another job. And because of the actions that I was taking, opportunities were creating themselves. And then when they offered me the marketing position, which is actually a funny story. Here I am trying to recruit attorneys, right? Working with the CEO, and I'm building out letters of recruitment and things like that to see if we can get some lateral partners in here. I get called into one of the managing partners' office, and I didn't know why. I had maybe said hello to him once, never actually had more than that of a conversation. And I started getting grilled, asked questions. And I'm answering the questions, and halfway through it, I said, I feel like I'm on a job interview. Like, what's going on here? Because I was nervous, I'm like, why am I getting grilled? Am I in trouble? And they're like, well, we're just interviewing you for the position of the marketing director. And so had no idea. I'm walking in, I work with my sleeves up because, I'm getting in, I'm getting dirty. I'll do whatever needs to be done. There's nothing beneath me. You work hard and you just kind of put it forward. My mom and dad always instilled into me that even if you had to scrub toilets for a living, you make sure you scrub those toilets better than anybody else out there, because that's your job, and you own that. Nobody can take that from you. And so that's the mentality that I take into any kind of, sort of situation. And so I've always owned my position here. I've always made sure that no matter what happens, if there's ever a mistake, that mistake is on me, and I will own up to it. It's about transparency. It's about saying you're sorry and saying I'll make it better, and just constantly pushing forward. So how it developed me is it took a long time. I've been in this position now for 9 years. And it's only recently did I realize, hey, I'm an intrapreneur, not necessarily an entrepreneur, right? I need that structure. I like that structure. I'm brilliant on building other people's ideas, taking sort of, the concepts of where people want to go and maybe helping them achieve that. And it's just that never stop attitude. I'm kind of jumping here, but one of the first sort of things that made me realize, hey, this is, you just got to push forward, is I brought an idea to some of the attorneys here, and they were like, no. And this is very early on. I'm still trying to figure out the position. I'm talking 2-3 months on the job. And they said no. And they went with their idea, and I was like, this isn't marketing to me. That's not marketing. So, and I'm not a marketer, right? I didn't go to school for marketing. I didn't intend to become a marketer. And it kind of fell in my lap because of the actions I was taking. And I realized I was very good at least trying to identify market opportunities and do certain things, right? And so a couple months later, here comes that opportunity again. I present another idea, and they say no. And this time I didn't listen to them. And I did it without asking. I said, you know what? They said do it this way, but I'm doing it this way. And I got called into an office, and they're like, why would you do this? But I said, trust me on it. Just let it flow. It'll work. And then after it all came out and they got compliments and everything else, they started realizing maybe he's got something. And that's, Steve Jobs said it, right? He said, I hire the smart, I hire you because, well, I forget the actual quote, but help me out if you know it. He says he hires smart people to do the job because he doesn't want to tell them what to do. He wants them to tell him what to do. And so, that's when I started achieving some of that, confidence to say, look, you put me here to do a job, and I'm going to do it 100%, and that's the mentality that you have to have, is to always, that I'm going to own this. What I find, and I would hope that if there's any young listeners out there that are kind of lost or trying to figure things out, don't be the kind of person that says, pay me more and I'll do more. Be the type of person that goes out there and goes, I'm going to get paid more because I proved that I'm worth more. And I think that's really what's important for anybody kind of getting into the workforce. And if you're an entrepreneur with that go-getter mentality, you're never going to get rich quick, right? So you have to make sure that you're putting in the plans, that you're setting your goals. You're achieving those mini goals, but you have that one major goal, and you're constantly updating it and constantly pushing forward to it. And, like Fernando said, he was up at 5:30 moving around. You have to have a morning ritual. Get up, do some jumping jacks as soon as you walk in. Get the blood flowing. Be a positive energy for everybody around you.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is important. And I try to instill that within my team. And just give them the energy that I want to see within my department.
Peter, your humbleness, your work ethic, your ability to take risks, the way you express and communicate are just exactly what we want here on this podcast, exactly what we want people to listen to. And it's just motivating. So I want to say, like, out in public, you mentioned your parents. They knocked it out the park with you, my brother. They straight up knocked it out the park. So publicly, I want to invite you and your mom to hang out with me and my mom, and I'd love to take you guys out to dinner. I'm going to put that on the radio here so now it's heard. And there's a million things I want to talk to you, but we only have a few more minutes left. So I want to steer one more question. You mentioned you've built this marketing department within the law firm. And at Guru Branding, one of the things that we pride ourselves in with the few clients that we've been able to structure the perfect partnership with, it's almost that exactly where they've built it internally. With us, they've almost hired us so they didn't have to build it internally.
Right.
So we're both doing the same things, different ways. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested in hearing from you, because our clients at Guru Branding are constantly, asking us how we could improve. One, you mentioned how you speak to them or how you present an idea. Because we've been in the same boat where a client didn't really see it, they didn't get it, they wanted to market a more traditional way, and we're like, no, we're going to do this. Because this is our audience, this is their emotion, this is how we want to talk to you. How important is it in 2019 for any company, whether it's a large company, corporate, whether it's a small company and entrepreneurial, to have a dedicated marketing and branding division within themselves, or outsource it and find someone that they can trust? How essential is that to this day and age right now to attract clients, to build trust, and to really put your brand out there?
It's monumentally essential. I don't know if there's anything more essential at this point. Yeah, you could be great at what you do, but if you don't put yourself out there, you're not gaining the trust. Most people are Googling. They're looking at reviews. They're trying to figure out whether or not, you're somebody that they can trust. Marketing in the firm has been pretty interesting. We have lots of different people. We have lots of different sort of practices. And so, trying to make sure that you're getting these messages out for each individual person, for the practice, for the firm overall, right? That's a challenge. And so it helps by building that brand. You got to have personal, especially young entrepreneurs, personal branding is important. You have to have it out there, but you can't, it's got to be professional. You got to do it in a way that you're going to gain your, like the people that are entrusting you. You got to gain their trust somehow, right? So you got to put yourself out there. Yeah, it's monumentally important.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about building that. I love what you said. You talked about first thing people do is go to the reviews. They go online, they search you out. They'll look at your LinkedIn profile. They'll look at Facebook, Instagram. All of these are now the 2019, resumes, right? And people are going to these platforms saying, is this person going to jive with our culture? Or is this person the right fit for what it is that we're trying to accomplish? And, you said it in a roundabout way, but like people want results, and people that's what they buy. They buy results. And what I really like about you, Pete, is that you're operating on a lot of high level philosophies that really, really resonate. CEOs, need people like you, to take their visions and to make them a reality, right? Entrepreneurs that are looking to take their business to the next level, or people that are just starting out. They need to hear these stories like you just gave us today to get that motivation, get that momentum. Know that, listen, when you first start, you're going to not be that good at whatever it is that you're doing. If you saw some of my work 12 years ago, you'd be like, oh my God. Like, right. And now 12 years later, we're doing site work for Fabio Viviani from Top Chef, and Bon Jovi was one of our clients, right? So like crazy stuff. So that just comes with time, experience, belief. One thing about you, Pete, is you have a tremendous amount of belief in yourself. And as we wrap this episode up, I want to leave the audience with that. If you don't believe in yourself, then how do you expect your boss or your clients to believe in you? So do whatever it is that you need to do to build that belief. And in my opinion, I believe that preparation and repetition is what builds that belief.
Yeah, and Henry, you hit it. That's something that I wanted to go back to on Fernando's question, is that, consistency and repetition is extremely important. If there's anybody that does need to hire, say, a marketing company, or like they're building their internal marketing, as I did in here, it's about making sure that you're not thinking you're going to achieve instant results with your marketing. It's about, right? Think about it as the tortoise and hare race. I'm the tortoise. I'm constantly setting my eyes on my goals ahead, and I'm slowly working towards those goals and making sure that I'm setting up a foundation and that I'm putting a plan in place that is going to achieve positive results. The people that are jumping and moving from spot to spot, throwing money here and doing this, and then looking at whoever's taking care of it and going, why isn't it working? And you're not allowing the results to actually happen, then you're burning your own money. And the marketer or the people that you're putting in place to do that, it's not their fault, because this is a long-term marathon. It's something that you need to put in place and work towards. And I think that's important for any kind of entrepreneur listening that has their own business, that is contemplating whether or not they should do something. Well, don't contemplate whether or not you should do it for a couple months. Contemplate whether or not you should be doing it for 18 to 24 months, because that's really where you want to be. You want to rank in Google? Yeah, you can throw money at it and get a link at the top for a couple months, but that's not going to help. Look at our SEO. I don't spend a single dollar on the internet, and I come up all over the place because we focus on the right way to build a website, and we focus on the SEO so that our organic search results are phenomenal. And that brings money, that brings results, and I don't have to pay anything except the people that work around me to do it. And so I think that's important.
Focus on the majors, not the minors.
Yep.
Fernando, you want to take us home?
I'm just really pissed off that this has to end. That's how I'm feeling. I walked in here with so much energy, and I'm like, damn, man, I want to keep chatting over this guy. So I'm going to demand, Peter, I'm going to strongly suggest that you please keep May 8th open. We have the Bergen Business Expo, largest expo in northern New Jersey. Jim and the Meadowlan team have been putting on for forever. On top of that, myself and Henry are going to be putting together what's known as M-Cube, the Meadowlan's Millennial Mastermind, where we're looking to really generate for the emerging leaders. We're looking to add people in the room just like you so that we can train entrepreneurs, and then corporate executives on how they can take their brand and their business and their life from where they are to where they want to be. So I would love for you to be there. I'd love for you to be one of our representatives in our first hour, where we're going to allow subject matter experts like yourself the opportunity, and our guests the opportunity to meet with you one-on-one, because I want to meet with you one-on-one. And we just spoke for, I don't know, an hour and a half. So I can just imagine all our listeners are like, dude, what's his name? What's his address? What's his email? What's his Instagram? Because I got to follow this guy. So shout out to you. It's May 8th at the Venetian. Genuinely, from all of us, we'd love to have you there. Your energy is contagious. One of my favorite podcasts we've done so far. I love everyone else. You is just on a synergy energy level. I just can't BS it. I vibe with you, man. I like your face. I like your beard. I like your work ethic. So like all the checks are just checking off. So I'd love, beyond our date with our moms, I'd love for you to be there May 8th with us, with Henry and with Jim and the chamber. So I salute you. I appreciate you. Thank you for motivating me. I got 7 individuals in the other room that are about to get a crap ton of energy because of you. So thank you, my man. And we really hope we can see you there May 8th. To all of our listeners, to all of our listeners, thank you for constantly tuning in, being here with us every single Monday, 11 to 11:45. Make sure to hit that subscribe button because it's not just an extra ticker on our subscribe list. We want to give you this value. You deserve it and the world deserves it. And when you subscribe, you're going to get it right away. And as we spoke about it before, it's all about reviews. If you got an ounce of value, if you got something that resonated with you, if you feel like you want to give to the fellow communities that are going to reading those reviews and thinking about listening, please write it there. Mention Peter, mention Henry, mention myself, Fernando, and we're going to be here every single week with you with this type of energy and hopefully more guests just like Peter. I salute you, my brother. Henry, did I miss anything?
You got it, my man.
Boom!
Hope you guys got some value out of this one. It was a pleasure. Stay tuned. We got more coming your way. Thanks again for listening, guys. We'll catch you on the next episode. Take care.
You've been listening to the Meadowlan's Chamber of Commerce Emerging Leaders podcast, sponsored by Henry Kaminsky Jr. and www.uniquedesigns.net. Don't forget to subscribe and stay connected with us by visiting www.meadowlands.org.